All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about one of the biggest and, honestly, most overlooked threats that businesses are facing today. And no, it's not the locks on your doors or the firewalls on your network. It's something hiding in plain sight, inside the very tools you rely on to run your company every single day.
I mean, really think about that for a second. That CRM that holds all your customer data, the accounting software that handles your finances, what if trusting it was actually a huge mistake?
Because here's the thing. The danger isn't just in one program. It's literally woven into the fabric of how all modern software gets built.
So, to really get what's going on here, we need to pull back the curtain on something called the software supply chain. Now, I know it sounds super technical, but the idea behind it is actually pretty simple.
Think of it like this. You're in a kitchen baking a cake. You don't make everything from scratch, right? You use flour, sugar, eggs, all from different suppliers. Well, modern software is exactly the same. It's built using dozens, sometimes hundreds, of different parts, these third-party and open-source components. But here's the critical question. What happens if one of those ingredients is bad?
Now, don't get me wrong, this interconnected web is fantastic for moving fast and innovating. But for a hacker, it's a playground. Every single one of those connections is a potential backdoor into your business.
And you better believe they know it. For cybercriminals, attacking the software supply chain isn't just another option. It's become their most efficient, high-impact strategy. This is what makes these attacks so incredibly potent. I mean, why bother picking one lock when you can get a master key that opens thousands of doors at once? By hitting just one popular piece of software, attackers can cause this massive ripple effect, getting into hundreds or even thousands of businesses in one shot.
And this is not some theoretical what-if scenario. Get this, 65%. That's the percentage of organizations that got hit with at least one of these software supply chain attacks just in the last year. It is happening right now, and it's happening at a massive scale.
So, how are they pulling this off? Well, it's not about brute force. These attacks are sneaky. They might slip a few malicious lines of code into an open-source library that thousands of apps depend on. Or, even more clever, they'll hijack a software update so the attack gets delivered through a channel you already know and trust. The whole thing is designed to be deceptive.
Now, it's really easy to hear all this and think, okay, but we don't build software, so we're probably safe. That is a really dangerous assumption.
Here's the bottom line. If your business uses any kind of modern digital tool, for sales, for scheduling, for literally anything, then you are a consumer in this software supply chain, and that makes you a target. A single bad update to your accounting software could expose all of your financial data overnight.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, if these attacks are so common, why don't our firewalls or antivirus programs just stop them? Well, the problem is, they are specifically designed to be invisible.
Think about it this way. A traditional cyber attack is like a burglar kicking down your front door. It's loud, it's messy, it's obvious. But a supply chain attack? Oh, it's way more subtle. It's like a trusted delivery person walking right up to your door with a malicious package. They just waltz right past all your defenses because you've already decided to trust them. You've given them the key. So it all boils down to this one crucial problem: a lack of visibility. Most businesses have no idea what's actually inside the software they use. They don't have that ingredient list we talked about. And if you don't know what's in there, how can you possibly know if something is vulnerable or malicious? You can't.
Okay, I know that all sounds pretty scary. But here's the good news. It is not hopeless. In fact, there are very clear, practical steps you can take to turn this massive blind spot into a real area of strength. So let's talk about how you can actually build up your defenses. The whole game plan really comes down to these 4 key pillars. First, you got to demand transparency. You need to know what's in your software. Second is embracing something called DevSecOps, which is just a fancy way of saying you build security in from the very beginning, not as an afterthought. Third, you have to layer your defenses. And finally, you have to train your team, because at the end of the day, your people are your first and last line of defense. The whole idea is to shift from just passively trusting your software to actively verifying it.
Let's start with transparency because this is huge. The most powerful tool we have for this is something called an SBOM, which stands for Software Bill of Materials. It's exactly what it sounds like. It is a detailed ingredient list for your software. You need to start asking your vendors for these. It's the absolute first step to getting that visibility we were just talking about.
Next, you've got to layer your defenses because there is no single silver bullet here. This means using the basics like multi-factor authentication. When you need a code from your phone to log in, that simple step stops a massive number of attacks. And this is where it gets really important. You need to adopt what's called a zero-trust mindset. It's a simple philosophy. You don't automatically trust anyone or anything, even if it's already on your network. You verify everything, every single time.
You know, when you start taking these steps, something really interesting begins to happen. You're not just playing defense anymore. You're actively building a more resilient, more trustworthy, and frankly, a more competitive business.
Because securing your software supply chain, it isn't just some chore you have to do or another cost on a spreadsheet. It is a fundamental part of protecting the very heart of your business. Ultimately, this is what's really at stake. We're talking about your customers' trust, your hard-won reputation, your bottom line. All of it relies on the integrity of the digital tools you use every single day.
So, I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Right now, as you're listening to this, is your software supply chain a ticking time bomb, or are you taking the steps to turn it into a fortress? The choice, really, is yours.